Welcome to the Japan Business Show. My name is Eric Ahona, and today I'm talking with Masaki Motoyama. I know Masaki for quite a while now, and I'm so happy to have him on the show because he does certainly not have the typical Japanese corporate ladder background. And he decided to live a life on his own terms. And today I want to ask him about how he decided to live his life on his own terms and what he has done to actually not live in Japan but in Barcelona and have a lot of international exposure. Again, Masaki, thank you so much for being on the show.
It's my pleasure.
So Masaki, tell us a bit about yourself. So you live actually in Barcelona right now, as we can see from the background, you are in Japan, but tell us a bit about how you discovered the outside of Japan, how you started to be interested.
So basically, to live somewhere, besides Japan, I definitely learn English, because English is mostly widely spoken language in the world. So I wanted to study English some places. So I tried in Britain, but somehow I end up in the United States, and I had a visa. So I lived in 2.5 years in LA, and I studied in English. And after I learned English, I had to work. So I moved to New York in 1 year. So I learned, I worked and I learned more general American culture, and especially music culture. I really like music, jazz, soul music, funk, those black music, basically. And then I moved to Europe, and I moved to Spain, this case. And Spain was, this moment was really, house music was mainstream of the music scene and nightlife. So I was kind of involving this house house scene in Europe. So I met David Guetta and Silicon Soul and Eric Morillos, those guys, and we used to work together. And so it was really, really fun. And for myself, kind of like, reason why I went to Spain, because after I learned English and I want to learn some other languages. So Spanish is also kind of like international languages, and over 21 countries in the world speaking, mother language in Spanish language. So that's the only also reason I want to study Spanish. And now I speak Spanish.
Allow me to interrupt you right there, because it's been so much in just the 3 minutes that you've explained us. So you went to first to the UK, then you went to the United States, and then you went to Spain. Before you even decided to go to the UK and study English, what was your initial interest in leaving Japan to study English?
Well, I mean, my parents are both Japanese, and I was grown up in a really small countryside, but always I had a curiosity to live in the big city, And usually my colleague and all my school friends, and after graduate school, they go to the Osaka or Tokyo, which is two major big cities in Japan. But for me, it's like leaving my parents' house. Doesn't really matter where I'm going, really. I didn't really think about, okay, I should go to Tokyo or I should go to Osaka, So I just naturally, I think about, okay, I like movie and music. And most of the movie and music, I got influenced from the Hollywood, in LA. So there was no questions. So I wanted to go to LA. Yeah. But of course, before, also I like the British music. So I tried to stay in Britain, but sort of I couldn't work out because somehow I couldn't get the visa. for a long time to study. So, but United States, I got for 5 years in visa. So that's one of the reasons I eventually went to United States.
Wow, super interesting. That's amazing. And so when you left Japan, did you already know that you would not come back for a while? Did you already know I don't know what you said your parents live on the
Mm,
countryside. I assume that's where you are right now. And
mm.
did you get some pushback from your family or from friends saying, "Hey, what are you going to do? You should go to a good university, you should get a good job," or something like that? Or were they open-minded and said, "Hey, yeah, explore the world"? How was that?
Yeah, actually, my parents was, in a very free of mind, to allow me to do whatever I want, since when I was a kid. So that was really helped a lot. And also financially, they also helped in the beginning of my journey. And the school fees and stuff, and they helped me, And as soon as I found a job in the United States, I started making money. So I gradually financing myself, and also I pay back to my parents, and which they kind of lend me, before. So I pay back to my parents, and yeah, and yeah. So basically, I had a pretty enough money, when I'm living in the United States. And then, moving to Spain it's really, really easy because it was peseta that moment before the euro. So peseta was like half of the price of the dollar, kind of like value of the money is half of the dollar. And plus cost of living is way cheaper in the United States, even though Barcelona, So that was very easy uh, to live in Spain, yes. But of course, after Euro, everything changed. Now it's even, I think, more kind of like more expensive to live in Spain, I think.
Yes, I can imagine. And how come you decided on Barcelona? Just because of the international connection of the city, or because it's, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful cities in Europe?
Mhm. Yeah. So basically, for me, it's like a first motivation to moving to some new city or new country as a women, And so I found Barcelona is one of the most beautiful people, and especially the women, and the beautiful women. So that was one of the first, and the reason, I guess, And also, meantime, of course, I could find the job that I want, and so that's also main factor of the living in Barcelona as well.
So tell us about a bit about your time in Barcelona. What were you working on? I know you were working in the music scene, you were already mentioning. Tell
Mm.
us a bit about that.
Yeah, so beginning of my life in Barcelona, I was working for the bars, music bars, also clubs, and which is house music clubs and electronics music. And so I get to know lots of people, so many people from all over the world, and I really liked it. And then so usually, and Japanese people, go to some other country, they kind of involve the community, like this Japanese community, for example, work at the restaurants and maybe some Japanese tourism service or sort of some Japanese things, But the way I integrate Spain was totally different because I was traveling by myself and I don't have any family or relatives and I don't have any company who which supports my life. So I was myself, and I had to find a way, like my living. So sort of like I go parties, and on the party I met new people and new people introducing new jobs, lots of opportunity. So that was really helping me to kind of grow up in a foreign country, and also talking to the people from the and the place you live. It's more easy to catch up the languages as well.
Super interesting. That's amazing. And now you've been exposed to so many international environments and international
Yes.
people, and since Barcelona is also one of the, I would say, most international cities in Europe, what about the challenges that you've faced in the different international environments that you've lived in? What have you found are the challenging for you being Japanese, or just in general working with different nationalities?
Mm. Yeah. And I think it's mentality of the people in Barcelona. It's like they are so different from the, I used to live in LA or New York, because living in the United States, I felt always feeling different, and feeling different from people from United States. And I feel so kind of like, yeah, I'm not the part of the society, and I'm always excluded. But the people in Barcelona, they don't care where I'm from, whether my skin is darker or lighter, or I'm Asian or African. They don't care really, and they see more uh, yeah, like if you were unique enough, and to and work with them, or you can just basically working good. That's most important. Like how you look, or like your race, actually. Yeah.
Well, that's very interesting. I never thought about that, because usually you would imagine the United States as a country of immigration. So the whole country kind of built up itself through immigration. But you're actually right. Living in the United States now, in Miami for over 6 years, and I have to
Mhm.
say, there is a lot of diversity,
Mm.
but at the same time, in this diversity, there's a lot of separation. So you have
Mm.
the neighborhoods that are um, mainly Hispanic neighborhoods, mainly white neighborhoods, mainly black neighborhoods, and even in the white neighborhoods, there's a Russian neighborhood, and then there's a neighborhood with mainly New Yorkers, the snowbirds that only come in the winter. So that's interesting that in Barcelona you experience that it is much more open-minded, independent of race and skin color,
Mm.
that you just taken as who you are, and there's not as much separation as in the
Mm.
United States, for example. Is that correct, what you were experiencing?
I mean, of course, and I think not only Barcelona, any city in Europe, and there are people only living by themselves, kind of like, for example, in Paris, in like area, mostly people from Paris living, and the outside is more like a mixing, or maybe more Arabs, and some Indians, living more their area they live in. So as Barcelona, there's area, the mostly Catalan people, which is Catalan people from Barcelona, they say Catalan, and
Hmm.
the area, they mostly Catalan people living. But the rest of the area is very international. So yeah, and this is just maybe my experience. And so according to my experience, I feel feeling more free, and compared to United States and living in Barcelona.
Okay, very interesting. And so, how is it for you when you go back to Japan? I mean, you spent, I think, more of your life, if I'm not mistaken, outside of Japan than inside
Mm.
Japan, right?
Mhm.
So, how is it for you when you go back to Japan? Is everything like before? You feel Japanese, or do you feel kind of like people look at you differently when they know, your background?
Yes, I think myself, I feel like I'm visiting Japan, even though I'm from Japan. Yes, and also the rest of the people see me. I'm probably not. They don't see I'm a ordinary Japanese person. I'm like a really like a unique Japanese person. I think they see me, and which is I think it's a a good and a good impression. I think depends on the person. I think maybe that's not a really good impression, but for me it's a good impression. It's somebody thinks I'm unique, and for them, and yeah.
That's great. And so, for example, when you meet, or do you still have friends that are in the area where your parents are right now from way back before you left, and they were
Mhm.
staying basically their life here? And did you have the chance to meet them?
Yes. So every time I come here, my parents' house in Japan, I see my friend from the local people who was grown, who went to school together, and the first grade, and we still keep in touch. And most of them are, they have family, like little kids and a wife and a house and stuff, which is very different from me, because I'm still by myself. I used to marry, but I divorced, and now I'm, by myself. I don't have any house, I don't have any cars, a mortgage or loans, and I don't have those kind of stuff.
And do they ask you, but Masaki, what are you going to do with your future? Or Masaki, what is your
Yes.
plan? Are they worried about that, or do they ask you?
Not really worry. I don't see that they're worry, my life. More, yeah, they have curiosity, and because I'm so different from them, and they only know this area, and Southwest Japan, and basically I have knowledge of the basically all over the world, Yeah. So they say, "Oh, I wish I could be like you," and they say that. So I said, "Of course you can do that. If I can do, you could do this." I say that.
That's a very good answer. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And let me ask you, before you left
Mhm.
Japan,
Mm.
what do you wish you had known? Because I can imagine in the beginning you must have had
Mm.
speaking, of course, the language barrier that you had to learn English. Also, when you went to Spain to learn Spanish.
Mm.
But besides that, what do you wish you had known before you left
Mm.
Japan?
Yeah. So I was growing up with Western music, UK music, and American music. So basically, I want to, I want to know what was basically meaning of the songs or maybe the movie. I like it, and what's the meaning of the story behind of this and movie. So I always I had lots of curiosity, but I never get to know and these question, and living in Japan. So I always wanted to try one day and discover, these answers, and what that are what I thought about it.
That makes sense. And looking back at the time that you've spent abroad and all the different experience that you've made and living the life on your terms and not getting a house, not getting a mortgage, not doing the settling and creating a family, what do you think is the unique skill that has helped you to become
Mm.
successful at what you do right
Mm.
now?
I think, for example, people go to university. I never been to university, and um, not because of that they want to get the higher degree and so they can use this degree for the future job. Most people they go to the university for just to get the university degree, and they're basically working anything. And so for me, it's just like totally useless for a university degree. This case, of course, there are some people study specific study in university and they work for that in a future job. But most people, I don't think they're doing for they studied in university, for example. You know? So, but the good things about going to university, or even though you're going to the church, for example, some Christian people go to the church and Muslim people go to the mosque, you know, and so that's Hindus, all kinds of people, because of they get to know people, you know, like the same as university, you know, they go university and you get to know the people there. So probably these people you know might affect the rest of your life, for example, you know, because some people probably doing entrepreneurs, you know, and like establishing their own company. So because you know each other from school or even the church group or you know mosque group, you know, and probably you get more easier, you know, and to reach the position you want to reach, you know, for example. So myself, because I'm not a religious person, or even I never been to university, but because of the whole my life, I was like meeting the new people. So these people, some people will probably offer me new job, or some people even offer place to live, you know. So that's kind of like the key of the life, I think. You know, it's like I think whoever have the success of life, or kind of like a great life, because they know the certain people who can help, you know, help this person, I think. So also I have this kind of people, somebody who has a nice house, somebody has a nice car, somebody has a nice boat, you know, and but I don't have to own those things because they have it, you know, and so they offer me to visit. So that's really great for me.
It's amazing what you were just saying. I think there are two things that I took out of it. The first thing is that many people, they go to university, they get a job because of the conditioning that they receive from the environment. So the parents, the friends, the teachers tell them, you need to do this to be successful, like I think what success is. So you get those ideas like rocks on a scale, and you think, okay, everybody's saying this, so this is how one is successful, and successful must mean happy. So that's why we think, okay, I have to go to university, I have to study this, and then I become this. And you don't really look inside what is your curiosity, what is your interest, what do you want to discover, what is your purpose for yourself in life. We just get those ideas from outside, but we're not taught to look inside of ourselves to find out what we are truly passionate about. And we start to maybe live our lives out of fear because we are afraid that we will not be accepted by others if we don't do what others think are good. So that's when, unfortunately, a lot start to move into jobs that they don't really like just because they're maybe well paid or they were told so, but they feel miserable. And they studied maybe something completely different in university that they also were not really interested in. And they get a job that does not have to do anything with what they studied. And even worse, they don't even like
Yeah,
it. And that's how
yeah,
it is. And that's one thing. But and I really like that you made that clear that you very early on, and thanks to your parents and the surroundings, that you were able to be a free spirit and explore and discover and see what the world is like, and what you like doing, and how to find your own self-realization. And then the other thing that you were saying, you were talking about the connections and the network that you have established by meeting so many different people, and that many people, obviously, they not only in the beginning they think they go to university to learn something, but it's actually about connecting to people and maybe getting exposure to different ideas and opinions and beliefs. Because I think in the US, it's so strong, this mindset that you're an entrepreneur or you're even an employee, and it's like a self-made man. You did everything by yourself. Like, you know, I don't know, if you look or even politicians or entrepreneurs, it's always, you look at them and it's kind of sexy to say they did that by themselves. But nobody on earth never ever did anything by themselves. There was always somebody that was either helping them, somebody that was supporting them, somebody that gave them some ideas, some maybe failures or some disappointments that they made along the way. But those disappointments with those individuals helped them to become more successful, because success is not giving up. It's not avoiding failure. It's not giving up after having a failure. So I think you really showed also the importance of how really the network or a connection with other humans is, and the more you can expose yourself to different opinions, different cultures, different belief systems, different religions, the more fulfilled you will be at the end of your life, and the more wisdom we will have accumulated. So I really like that point, that you brought up, all the 2 points. That's really well. Did I summarize that well, more or less? Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. So always I say, according to my experience, and if you have a younger kids or young kids himself or herself, I always say, even though I know most young people, they don't have money, they don't have a great financial situation, but probably maybe parents do, So maybe you can ask the parent to finance the, and maybe a couple of years, and so you can try whatever you want, whatever you're passionate about it, if you want to create something, or if you're traveling, or you can travel, and different countries, and if you like cooking, you can just try 2 years, go around and eating, different food, to experience, and anything, like if you want to be car driver, you can just buy the car and you can just practice the driving techniques, whatever. Yeah. So even though maybe didn't work out, doesn't work out in the future, the things you tried it, but it's okay because you're still young, and you can start up the second turn, I guess, and but because of the young, you can do that, but when you become old, like 40, 50, if you want to do the same thing, it's really, really hard, I guess, and so always I recommend, people has before the 20s, and or early 20s, they should do my method, actually. I recommend my method so they can find what they want really, and in their life, actually, and so yeah, that's I always say that.
I love your mindset, because that is the most un-Japanese mindset that I've heard. Because in Japan, it's about don't make mistakes. It's about be perfect. When you do something, don't do it if you can't do it perfectly. So I'm very positively inspired, but by what you're saying, because from my experience,
yeah, it's a good part of being young. Also, you can make a mistake and nobody's really criticize you, because you're young, But when you're old enough to become become old enough, and then you make a mistake, people criticize you, so it's better to, make a mistake early as possible.
But would you say in Japan, you're not criticized if you make a mistake when you're young?
Yeah, of course, but still, it's different degree of the criticizing, and it's not
Yes.
the same as when you were 19 or 18, and you are 48 or 50.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
So,
yeah. If you make same mistake as when you were 18, people don't criticize. They disappointed, actually. Yeah.
true, true. I love your positive mindset on this. That's really, yeah, very inspiring. So we talked about beliefs a little bit. I want to ask you what new belief or habit or routine
Mm,
that you have implemented in your life has
mm,
most positively impacted you
mm.
in the past, can be 1 year or 5 years. What habit or belief has most positively impacted your life?
But like usually, if you were class, in school and a student or even the parents tell you, what would you like to be in when you get old? Mostly they ask you, or they tell you. So you start thinking, okay, when I was 5 or when I was 8, when I was 12 or when I was 15, I should know what my life what will be, and most people think this way, even though Japan no question, and but according to my life, what will you do? It's not important actually. Important is the present, present. What can you do, by yourself, and what can you do right now, and for yourself, that's the most. I think it's important, So then you can tell the later, okay, when I was 20, I was like this, and I worked this one. When I was 30, I was doing this, I worked this one. That's your like uh, uh, like your future and future things you want you wanted to do, and so it's not before you decide what will you do, it's more like what you have done, like mostly life is like that,
Nice,
yeah.
I like it. So it's living in the present moment much more than worrying about the future or maybe the past, but just living the present moment is
Yeah.
a habit that most positively
Hmm.
impacted you. And I think it makes sense. I have to say, I started with meditation practice a couple of years ago, and just being here and now has
Hmm.
really helped to reduce anxiety, to reduce worries. And I absolutely agree to what you're saying. Yes. So let me shift gears a little bit and talk exceptionally a little bit about business. So I
Hmm.
would like to know from you if, because you have such a vast experience, when
Hmm.
you, let's say an international person that maybe has a company is asking you, Masaki, I want to do business with Japan. What
Hmm.
advice would you give?
Well, I mean, obviously, anybody wants to do business in Japan. It's better to know the Japanese cultures and languages. But and these days, not really necessary actually, because you find some Japanese person who already know the language and who already know the system, so who can help you. What can you do in business in Japan? So yeah, and I just uh, tell you just find somebody who can help you, and about your business. Yes.
So certainly when someone wants to do business with Japan, the understanding of the culture and the language is important. But nowadays it's a lot easier since
Mm,
there is so much support. You can find
mm,
somebody online that supports you with your initial business endeavor and that understands the business culture and so on. Do you have any recommendation on how to find such a person, or it's generally, would you recommend to look anywhere specific?
Well, some people using this social network, LinkedIn, and so even though depends on the job, some people using also Instagram and a business account, or some people using Facebook and a business account, and even though I think when I used to work in Google, and there was some kind of Google apps, and has some kind of like sort of job, and searching the application or something like this. So I'm sure there are much more, and so yeah, and or you can just specifically you search okay, I want to make, for example, app for iPhone or Android, and so you just search for a programmer and who can program the application for the mobile phone. So you pay just maybe start from €5 or $5, or $50 or something like that, and all depends. Yes.
Okay, good. Now, last question. Is there anything that we maybe did not talk about that I should have asked you that you might want to talk about? Did I miss any question? Is there maybe?
Well, probably, what kind of food I like, or what kind of culture, and I prefer, and or place, do you recommend, or nice beach in the world? There are so many things.
Perfect. So let's go rapid fire. What is your favorite food?
Well, my favorite food is kind of a Mediterranean food.
Mediterranean.
Which is seafood, based on the seafood and more like natural food. For example, Spanish food is very natural food, I would say, because they just make a cheese and just cut the cheese and they eat it, and bread, just to bake it and and make a bread and then just eat it bread, and so there's hams, Iberico hams, just slice it. They don't really cook anything. Just they just prepare, and instantly, and they just eat. So I like that kind of food. Yes.
Okay. Then next one. What is the favorite place on earth for you to live? What's your favorite city?
Well, it's really tough question because all the city I've been, I really like some part. For example, LA, I think it's like the best weather in the world, I guess. Even though compared to in Florida, I think LA is the best, I guess. The weather, just so nice weather every day. Like tomorrow is like today. Today is like yesterday. Just like every day, it's a blue sky and a nice, beautiful and weather. Yeah, I love this weather in LA. That's for sure. And New York, and it's very small city. So basically, you can go take a bike. You can go anywhere in New York City. And also the eating experience in New York is one of the best, I guess. And in Barcelona, it's a very international city. And also, according to the place I used to live, it's quite small city, but the small city has everything, you need to live. So that's kind of convenience. And people generally way nicer. Yeah, it's like people are very open-minded and very sympathetic, and just the way they say hello, they kissing cheeks and side. That's kind of like unbelievable, and somebody come from the United States, or some people come from the Japan, and beautiful girls just kissing each other, your both and cheeks, so that's the best part actually, yeah. And Brazil, just because of the season is very different. For example, in Europe in the winter, and Brazil is summer, so that's the most important point. So, and if you don't like the cold weather, you just go to the Brazil, and just the life is fantastic. It's more easygoing, and people are very nice, and so many different fruits, and yeah, and yeah, I just love it. Yeah. And also Scandinavia, like for example, if you want to have a family, I prefer living in Scandinavia, for example, because they have a great social security service. So the society is really helping the family member. If you have small kids, you can you can send to the great educations, elementary schools, and primary schools and stuff. So Scandinavia, I like if I have a family, yes. And I don't really like living in Japan, basically, because I have no choice, because I'm from Japan, and I have family here. So that's why I come here every year and to visit my family. But and I don't really recommend in Japan, and it's not Japan's best place to live actually, and I know that so many best places in the world, and so yeah.
So in terms of food, you wouldn't say that Japan is the best place to live?
I don't know. Probably some people really inspire, this ancient culture, in Japan has, because Japan is an theoretically oldest country in the world. So, and any people from the outside Japan, they visit in Japan, they can feel very deep, old traditions, customs, histories. So if somebody who can reflect this cultural background, I think this person really appreciated living in Japan, I'm sure.
Makes sense. Masaki, thank you so much. Where can people learn more about you? Do you have a website, or are you on social media channels?
Yes.
Instagram or Facebook?
Yes, I have Instagram, I have Facebook, I have YouTube channel.
Oh, awesome. Oh, great. So yeah, what's the name of your YouTube channel?
Basically Facebook, and my Facebook and my Instagram account, and Dimitri Boss, Dimitri.boss. That's my Instagram account, and Facebook account. And my YouTube channel is Dimitri Moonlight. All together, Dimitri Moonlight.
Dimitri
That's the name
Moonlight.
of the channel. Yes.
Okay. Again.
Basically, I'm showing and like my life in general, because I like taking pictures, also shooting some videos, movies. So, and if you go my account, you can see those kind of stuff.
Awesome. Masaki, again, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. It's been an inspiration to have you on the show. And I, again, appreciate you very much. And thank you all for watching, and see you all next time. では、ありがとうございます。Thank you.